start today sitting on our bottoms, crisscross applesauce. And we'll close our eyes and we'll bring those sitting bones into our mat. Feel them just rooting down in there. And then as we inhale, we lengthen in the spine. We lift from the top of the head like we're being pulled with a little string from the crown of our head. Keeping that length in the spine as we exhale, let's drop those shoulders away from our ears. Big deep breaths in through our nose, out through our mouths. Just bring the thoughts and our focus inward, making sure that we are paying attention to what our body is telling us as we practice today. As we move, sometimes it asks for things that it needs or is letting us know that something is not right or it is right. We need to make sure that we're always listening to that. This is a perfect time for us to just focus on us. Let's not think about the impending laundry that we have outside of our space, or the email that we may have to send. It will all be sitting for us when we get done here. Inhale, let's lengthen in that spine, and then exhale, let's bring our chin over to one side, bringing it over the shoulder. Not forcing, just moving it over there. And then back to the center on the inhale. And then exhale, we'll move it over to the other side. And back to the center. And now with our breath, just slowly move to the side on the exhale, to the center on the inhale. Let's do one more to each side. And then back to the center. And we'll inhale, lift our hands up to the sky, pull those shoulders down from our ears. And now we'll just take this left hand, touch to the right ear, that's right side of our head, and just slowly guide our head over to the left. And then the right arm can just come down, reach toward the floor. Gently and just encouraging the head over to the side, relaxing this right shoulder, lengthening in the side of the neck. And now keeping that light touch with our left hand, we're just going to turn our nose toward the shoulder down so that we can look toward the floor or the ground. And then bring our nose back to the center. We'll release that left hand and slowly let our head come back to the center. We'll inhale, lift the hands up, and we'll move over to the other side. So the right hand will touch around to the left ear, guiding the head over to the right shoulder. Left hand can reach down toward this floor. Big breaths. We let this left shoulder melt away from the ear. Our head just slowly lowers over to the right shoulder. And this right hand is just a guide. It's not forcing, it's just reminding our head where it needs to go. And then we can slowly move our nose down toward the ground, keeping that hand encouraging the head. And back to the center. We'll just let that right hand slide down, lifting the head back to the center. Let's inhale, lift our nose up toward the sky. And then exhale, let's lower the chin down toward our chest. And we'll just continue to curl our spine. Hands can come in front of us, and we'll slowly lower down into a little curled up forward fold. Our hands or our elbows can find the ground, but we're still tucking that chin, opening up behind the neck, rounding in the back. And then inhale, we'll just roll our way back up. So just pushing that rewind button, unwinding. And let's bring those hands behind our butt, pull the shoulders back, lift the nose, open up the chest. And then slowly we'll come back up to seated. Hands will find the floor right in front of us. We'll curl over those shins and come onto our hands and our knees. For a tabletop, spreading the fingers out nice and wide, big starfish hands, pressing each little digit into our mats. Hands are underneath the shoulders, knees are hip width apart. Let's exhale, round the spine into a cat, tucking the tail, tucking the chin, lifting that back way up high. And then inhale, dropping the tummy. We'll lift the heart, lift the tail. Exhale, let's round into a cat. Inhale, arching into cow. Exhaling cat. And inhaling cow. Let's do one more of each. Exhaling, rounding, lifting that spine up high. And then inhale, drop. Press into those fingers, lift the heart, drop the tummy. And now let's come back to a neutral spine. And we'll just bring those hips back to our heels in child's pose. Arms are out in front of us. Again, big wide fingers. Shoulders are soft. Hips are back by our heels. And now from here, let's inhale up to a little plank. Plank on our knees, bringing those hips forward. Nice proud heart. Let the hips sink down, and then exhale. We'll just lower our chest down toward our mat. Hands are underneath of our shoulders. And then inhale up into a little cobra. So scooping that chest forward and then up, using those back muscles help lift the chest. And then we'll press into the hands and back into child's pose. And now with our breath, inhale, we'll come up to that little plank. Exhale, we'll lower down. Inhale to our little cobra. And then press into the hands, exhaling child's pose. Let's do that 3 more times, using our breath, moving with care and purpose. And one more time, inhale, we'll come up. Exhale, lower down. Inhaling, scooping, and then press back. We'll meet in child's pose when we are done. In fact, we'll even open up those knees nice and wide, keeping the toes together, big wide child's pose here, pressing into the hands. Let's push those hips back towards those heels. Chests are lowering toward the ground. From here, let's walk our hands over to the right. And then let's walk them back to the center. Take one full breath here. Inhale, let's crawl those fingers. Exhale, lower the chest. And then when we're ready, we'll walk the hands over to the left, keeping the chest nice and low, reaching across the body with that right arm. And then coming back to the center. Good. Let's keep those knees nice and wide. Keep the toes together as we inhale. Let's bring our hips up and forward. Nice, wide knees. Those toes are sticking together. And we'll come into like a little bit of a frog position here. Bring the hips forward, lengthening on those inhales. And then exhale, we'll just slowly press back. And then inhale, we'll come forward. And exhale back. Inhaling forward, lengthening proud chest. Sinking those hips down, and then exhale. Let's come back to that child's pose, all the way back, lowering the chest. Good. And now let's inhale, bring those knees together, and we'll come back to our tabletop. Hands underneath of our shoulders, knees underneath the hips. We can tuck the toes if we'd like, or we can keep the feet soft. It's up to you on that. Good. And now from here, let's just bring that right leg back behind us, pointing the toes down to the floor, and we'll touch them back behind us, and we'll press the heel away into a little calf stretch here. Good, and then we'll lift those toes back up, and we're gonna tuck them, bring them over the top of that left foot. So we're stepping over to the left side with the right foot. And then we'll just peek over that left shoulder to see our feet. Little outer hip stretch here. Good. And then bringing that foot back behind us, and then we'll step forward with the right foot to the outside of our hands into a little lunge here. Good. And now keeping our hands on the floor by our foot, we're just going to exhale and begin to sit backwards. We won't probably be able to get that leg all the way straight, but that's okay. We're just going to kind of warm it up here for a sec. Inhale forward, and then exhale. Just slowly work backwards. Moving forward and backward with our breath. About 5 or 6 times. And let's do one more just so that we're all on the same page. Exhaling back. Inhaling forward. And we'll step back. Child's pose here. Let's inhale for a little plank. Go through our half series. Exhale, we'll lower down. Inhale, scooping up to our little cobra. And then press back to our child's pose. And then we'll come up to our tabletop. Again, nice wide fingers, finding that neutral spine, no dropping of the tummy. Lift it up a little bit, and then we'll take that left leg, reaching it back behind us. And then we'll just place those toes onto the ground and press the heel away. Open up that calf, wake it up. And then we'll lift those toes up, stretch the leg back behind us, and then begin to step over that right leg, putting the toes back down onto the mat, and then we'll peek over that right shoulder. We should feel a nice stretch in the outer hip, maybe in our side body, maybe even a little sensation of a twist. Good, and then slowly we'll just lift those toes up and step them all the way forward to the outside of our hands here. Settle into a little lunge. Sink the hips down, lift the heart, press into those hands. And then relax this right leg, the glute. Good, and now as we exhale, we'll just slowly work our way back again. We're not probably going to be able to get our leg all the way long. And then inhale, we'll come forward. And exhale back. Slowly moving with our breath. Let's do one more together. Exhaling back. Inhaling up. And now let's step back, find that child's pose, and we'll go through that half series again. As we inhale, we'll come up to that little plank, sink the hips, lengthen in the spine. Exhale, we should lower those chests down. Inhale, scooping. And then we'll press back, child's pose. Good, coming up to our tabletop. Right here. Let's bring this right leg back behind us. Stretching that leg nice and long. Good. And now we're just going to lift up the right hand and we'll place that foot down onto the ground into a modified side plank. Opening up to the right, lengthening all the way from our toe up into our armpit, from finger to finger. Good, and now let's take that right hand and reach it above our head. Extend that line from our toe all the way up to those fingers. Good, keeping that right leg out long, we're slowly going to rise up into gate pose. Hands are up to the sky, shoulders above our hip. Reaching nice and high, and now exhale. Let's tilt our way over to that right leg, to the side. And then inhale, we'll come back up. And now let's hinge at the hips. Exhale, bringing the hands down. Nice flat back here into a little forward fold with that leg sticking out wide still. A nice flat back. We can slowly lower down to our elbows if we like. Pressing into that outside edge of the foot. Good, and then slowly we'll come all the way back up to the sky. And then slowly we'll tilt over to the left, slowly lowering that left hand back to the ground, finding that side plank, and then lowering the right hand, and we'll come back into this extended right leg tabletop situation. And we'll bring that right leg forward again into our lunge. Sinking those hips down. We should start to feel those hips have softened. And now exhale. We're just going to walk those hands backwards. We're going to go into this half split this time, lengthening the right leg. So the hands may not be all the way up where our toes, but they can be on our thigh or to the shin. We've got our block, or we can reach the floor. Good. Inhale. Let's bring ourselves forward back into that lunge. And we'll step back to our child's pose. And then again, let's go through our half series. Inhale up to our little plank. If we would like, we can tuck those toes, come to a full plank. Exhale, lower down. Inhale to our little cobra, or if we would like, we can come all the way up into an upward facing dog. And then lower the knees back to our child's pose. And then inhale back up to our tabletop. From here, let's extend that left leg back behind us. Keeping that heel pressing back, toes are pointing down to the floor. Let's begin to turn, open ourselves up to the left, lifting up that left hand. Then we'll place that left leg down onto the floor, opening ourselves up for the side plank modification on this side. Think about keeping the spine long instead of crunching. Pressing into that right arm, opening up in those bottom ribs. Keeping the neck strong. And now let's reach that left hand up over our head, extending from our toes to our fingers. Good, and then we're gonna press into this left leg and slowly begin to lift ourselves up into gate on this side. Left leg is out long, and then we'll bring those shoulders over our hips, reaching up high. Find that balance, and then exhale. We'll just tilt over to the left. You can release the left hand to the leg, reaching the right hand up and over. And then inhale, bringing both hands up to the sky. And then exhale, hinging at the hips, keeping that spine nice and straight, lowering the hands down and folding forward here, pressing into the outside edge of this left foot, keeping the hips over the knee. On the right hand side, we'll slowly fold in. Little side lunge, forward fold action here. Slowly rise back up to the top. And exhale, tilting over to the right, lowering that right hand back down, finding ourselves in the side plank modification. And then exhale, let's lower that left hand down, extending the left leg back behind us. And we'll step that buddy forward into our lizard pose on this side. When we're ready, let's exhale. We'll walk ourselves back for our half split, bringing those toes pointing up to the sky, hinging at the hips, keeping that back nice and straight. We'll slowly fold forward here, walking down that left leg, finding our spot here. And then inhale, let's come forward, back into our little lunge. And then we'll step back all the way to child's pose. Let's take 2 or 3 full breaths here. Good. And then from here, let's walk those hands out. Creepy crawl the fingers forward, 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 forward. Our hips will come up off of our heels and we'll bring them over the knees. Keep walking those fingers forward, sinking the chest down, and we'll find ourselves in melting heart. Stay here for 2 more breaths. Staying for that last exhale. And then we'll slowly walk those hands backwards all the way into our child's pose. We can even bring the hands back towards our feet. Give the shoulders a bit of a rest here for a second. Good. And now we'll bring those hands back out in front of us. Inhale, bringing ourselves up into our little plank ever so briefly so that we can lower ourselves down onto our bellies. And we'll just come into our goalpost arms or cactus arms here. We can just rest our head on our mats. Take a breath or 2. Let those shoulders relax in toward the mat. And now we're going to keep this right hand on the ground. We'll listen with our right ear into our mats, and then we'll roll backwards, lifting the left leg up off of our mats, stepping back behind. If we can reach the floor with that toe, that's really cool. If not, that's also really cool. And back to the center. Back to our goalpost arms. And then we'll keep this left hand on the ground, working that left shoulder in toward the mat. We'll listen with our left ear and lift up the right leg to step back behind, opening ourselves up. Little twist here, little shoulder stretch. You may even feel a little bit in the front of this right hip. Or you might feel something completely different. As long as it's not pain, it's completely great. And then we'll come back to the center. Give ourselves a breath or two here. And then we're going to press into our right arm to lift up our chest. We're going to take the left arm and thread that buddy through underneath and then lowering back down. And then we'll press into that right hand again so we can unwind. Find ourselves back to the center. Take a breath. And then when we're ready, take your time. We're going to press into that left hand. Lift up the chest again. Thread that right leg, right arm through. And lower back down. And then we'll press into that left hand. Unwind. Lower back down. We can even bring our hands to our sides if we would like. Give ourselves a little wiggle. And then from here, we're just going to roll over. We're going to flip ourselves over and find our way onto our backs. We'll bend those knees, bring them into our chest. We're going to roll up into a little ball. Good. And now we'll release that left leg back down onto the floor. The right leg is going to come up to the sky, flexing the foot, pressing the heel up toward the sky. Our hands are just going to touch behind the hamstring or the knee and just gently guide our leg in towards us here. If we need to bend the knee because our hamstring is a little tight, that's totally fine. We're going to find that stretch that we need. Good, and now let's take this right leg, we'll bend the left knee and we'll just cross that ankle over the top of the left knee, holding behind the left hamstring this time into a figure 4 stretch on that right leg. Think about moving this right knee away from our body, getting that rotation in the hip. Feeling our whole spine pressing into the mat. And then we'll release and unwind. We'll bring both of those knees back into our chest, hugging them tightly. And this time we'll release the right leg down to our mat. Left leg will come up toward the sky, nice and long here if we can, or just a slight bend in the knee, holding behind the hamstring. And gently guiding it, encouraging that leg to come towards us. Good, and now let's go into that figure four stretch here. So we'll cross that left ankle over the right knee, bending that right knee, bringing it towards us, holding behind the thigh on that right leg. You can even use the elbow of our left arm to keep that knee from coming in towards us. Always encouraging and guiding our body, not forcing it. Good. And then we'll release and unwind. Give it a wiggle if we need, and we'll roll back up into our little egg here. Good. Let's release those legs. The knees will come over the hips, keeping them bent. Our shoulders and arms are just going to soften and rest into our mats. Inhale, nice and big here, and then exhale. We'll take those knees over to the right for a spinal twist. Think of creating space on those inhales and relaxing on the exhales, letting the body deepen in the twist. Good, and now let's inhale, bring those knees back to the center. And then when we're ready, exhaling them over to the other side. And we'll come back to the center. Roll up into our ball. Tucking our chin, bringing our nose in towards our knees, hugging those knees tightly into our body. One more inhale here. And then exhale, let's release for our Shavasana. Our arms and shoulders melt back into the mat. Our legs can go out long. We close our eyes. We soften our jaw. And continue to stay present within our body until our mind wanders away. And we deepen our breath. We'll wiggle our fingers and our toes. And come back into our space. When we're ready, we'll bring our knees into our chest. We'll roll over onto our side. And we'll slowly help ourselves up to seated. Wherever we land is perfect. We'll bring our hands together at our hearts. And we'll bow to ourselves in gratitude. Giving ourselves thanks for all of the gifts that we just gave us. And I am oh so grateful for all of you for joining me today, for allowing me to help you through your practice. I'm grateful for your energy and your positivity, and so proud and grateful for the dedication that you put into yourselves. I wish you all a very, very happy and splendid day. The light and the divine in me recognizes and respects the light and the divine in each of you. And when we are together, whether physically or virtually, we are one. Namaste.